And something I don't do every day, they put makeup on me, and I felt so pretty then. I think I'll put them up here next time. I won't put makeup on me. I felt lovely. I don't feel so lovely now. My ideas usually come from things that happen. I live a very normal sort of suburban life, and books usually start with something that happens to me or something I'm thinking of. In the case, there's a book I wrote a couple of years ago called Promise Me. And the way it happened, I overheard a couple of teenagers who I loved talking about drinking and driving, going out and partying. So I pulled them aside and I said, promise me, title of the book, you won't do that. Here's my card, my cell phone. I don't care if it's 3 in the morning. I don't care how stoned you are. I won't tell your parents. I'll come pick you up. Just promise me you'll never get in the car with someone who's been drinking and driving. Now in real life, that's it. Nothing else happened. But fiction's asking, what if? So I said, well, what if one of them called me? A girl called me, a 17-year-old girl called me at 3 in the morning. You go, you pick her up, you drop her off late at night at what you think is a friend's house, and the next day, she's gone, and no one knows where she is, and no one who lived in that house even knows her. That's the start of the book. Mm-hmm. The best example I can give, though, is a book called Tell No One, that I wrote, because most of the time, the idea works like, thanks. That's someone right. Most of the time the idea is not, I don't know if it works for you, but your mind just kind of goes like, you ever have one of those nights when you can't fall asleep because you can't remember the name of the dog in Petticoat Junction? You know what I mean? And you go, wow, what the hell's the name of that dog? And you're sitting there thinking, and all of a sudden, and you say, how did I start thinking about something so stupid? So you start tracing your thoughts back, and I actually started with, like, how come Burger King doesn't serve Mountain Dew? You know, like, that's how it often works, bouncing around. But Tell No One I can be pretty specific about. The idea came to me from 2 different directions. One, I was watching a really crummy romance movie on TV. I won't mention the name of the movie, Message in a Bottle. And what struck me about it, Nicholas Sparks is a good friend of mine, so I'm not knocking him, but it was a story we've seen a million times in romance movies. Am I right? Like, the wife dies, and the man, he can't go on. And then a hot babe walks by and he's fine. You know, and you say, what about the man who can't go on? What about the man who truly lost his soulmate? Is there a way I can find redemption for him? On the other side of the coin, to be somewhat serious, I lost my parents at a young age. A lot I deal with Myron. His parents I overwrite those scenes. I get too sentimental because I imagine that would be my relationship with my parents had they lived. And I have young children who never got to meet their grandparents. And one day I'm thinking to myself, the same way we all do, wouldn't it be great if they were still alive? Wouldn't it be great if they could have seen their grandchildren? As I'm doing this, I'm on a webcam and I think to myself, what would I do if I saw my parents on this webcam? I took these 2 ideas and I put them together. A man and a woman happily married. She gets murdered, 8 years pass, he can't get over her death, he gets the email, he clicks the hyperlink, he sees a webcam, and his dead wife walks by. And a little Homer Simpson part of my brain goes, woohoo! You know, that's that moment, woohoo! Now, I think it sounded like this took 10 minutes. This is 3 months of work, ladies and gentlemen. This is 3 months of sitting on the couch going, no, honey, I can't throw out the garbage. I'm working. Hardest part of my job, convincing my wife I have one. So, no, Missy, last time we were together, you told me something about where I stood, of how you were sitting in your bed when you thought of it, staring at the ceiling.
Yeah, I was going, I guess, through a breakup at the time, and I was lying on my bed in the middle of the night. I think it was about 4 in the morning, actually. I just had, my mind was going really fast and really loud, and things were kind of banging around in there. And I suddenly had this desire to kind of get out whatever it was and put it into music. And so I kind of, without even really setting up, I have my guitar next to my bed for this very purpose, so I kind of reached, so I didn't even have to move, and I got it and I started strumming my guitar while looking at the ceiling. And I guess the first line of the chorus just kind of came out. It was the first line that I sung. I don't know who I am without you, all I know is that I should. And and then it just kind of rolled out from there, but I think the most inspired sounding songs end up coming from a place of real trust, like trusting your idea as soon as it comes into your head and just letting it be as fluid as possible without putting up any filters or letting any kind of insecurities kind of infiltrate.
Not being your own editor, in other words, just letting it flow.
Yeah, exactly, because it's hard to trust an idea in the first stages, I think. because it's not fully formed. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I first start writing a song, I don't know how it's going to end.
Well, first of all, and tell me if the same, I'm ravingly insecure. I mean, I think, you know, whenever I'm writing, like I'm writing the book and I'm sitting there going, oh my God, you know, this is so horrible. I was so good before. How did I lose it? And then 2 seconds later, I'll be writing going, oh my God, this is sheer genius.
Yeah.
Someone's going to read that okay book
Yeah.
and not listen to this. You have that, like, that kind of insecurity
Yeah,
constantly?
I mean, every day I wake up and I fear that I'll never be able to write a song again, because you can't. I mean, you can't pinpoint how you wrote something. Like I can't. When I think back about how I wrote a song, it's like amnesia or something. I'm like, I don't really remember that. It's a big kind of blackout period, because if it's good, there's not too much of a grinding process involved. But yeah, I'm always thinking, picking up my album and going, you're my last one. My last one.
Do you, there's a great writing quote from the great Dorothy Parker's, I think most credited with, where she says, I don't like writing, I like having written.
Yeah.
Does that work for you too?
Yeah. I mean, there's different, like I said, like the ones that just flow, that's an amazing feeling, but it's almost like an out-of-body experience, so you don't really feel like you're doing it anyway. But yeah, like having completed a song and having it as this tiny little body of work that represents a moment in your life, a little snapshot or a complete emotion just so perfectly is the most satisfying feeling. And you know, the last song I've written is always my favourite.
Right.
I don't know why.
We talked this sort of last time that sometimes you look back on, like I can't read my old books, and sometimes it's like, have you ever written that college essay you thought was brilliant, and you find it now and you go, "Oy, what was I thinking?" Even though it's not necessarily that way, I often look back on old books and I knew you were kind of saying the same thing with some of your songs, though. You know, we love them as much,